are now going to move on to the next panel. We're going to talk about the challenges in the face of the changing world in the UK and the continental market. Mario Ramírez Ortúzar will be our moderator. Mario, you can take the stage. He's risk and asset manager at EXOLUM. We also have speakers, Carlos Wilkinson, who is the head of power and utilities, downstream natural resources, and at Willis Towers Watson, and José Antonio Ruibal. He is Chief Underwriting Officer at MAPFRE Global Risks. And the questions in this panel are questions about the energy transformation and its impact, sustainability in companies. When is the trend going to change the hard market, the soft market, systemic risks, sustainability? The debate is open. Carlos, Antonio, Mario, go ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for attending this panel. I think it is the most challenging one. So let's see if I can get the most out of these two guests, get them to get the crystal balls out and tell us what premiums we are going to pay in the coming years. So let me introduce them first. We've had the intention of contrasting a continental market such as MAPFRE's with a lot of business in Latin America with a British broker so that we can hear the latest scoop of what's happening in the city and the trends down there. Carlos is very well known in London, in Spain. This is probably one of the first times he speaks, but I'm sure you're going to love listening to him. He works in Willis Tower Watson. He's responsible of power and utilities. And José Antonio is somebody everybody knows. We only invite him to the hard market side of these things. Not for the soft one, we don't call him quite so much. But he's the chief underwriter offices. He's the chief of those who have the pencil sharpened up in MAPFRE. So tell us, perhaps, José Antonio, you start. Tell us about the trends in the market. Do we have to still be worried, or do you see any positive advancement? I know everything's going hunky-dory for you too, but tell us. Well, first, can you hear me all right? Well, first, thank you for giving MAPFRE the opportunity to speak. I'd say we are optimistic. Our message is optimistic. And optimism comes from having managed to turn around the income statement outlook. And for you as customers, it's very important that insurance companies are sustainable over time. I took this position I'm in today in 2019, and we had several years of great losses. And of course, shareholders bring their capital, a lot of capital, because it is required to operate with an A rating and so on. And so they have this bad custom. You can't hear me all right. Okay. And the problem is they want to have a return on their investment. Crazy people they are. And so if they don't see good profitability, obviously they might take their money elsewhere. But thankfully, in these 2.5 years, we've managed to turn around the situation. It's been a blow for you, of course, because you were very much used to yearly cuts, without doing too much to improve your risks, because it wasn't worth it, really. It wasn't worth investing in improving the risk outlook for you. I'm speaking in broad terms. It is true to say that this is the way this market works. This is how this market works. I get a discount, I call a broker, and the broker would offer me a 10% discount without doing anything. Why? And how do I explain this upstairs? Well, upstairs you didn't have to explain anything because you were bringing a discount. Now the story has changed. Nevertheless, we've managed to turn around the situation, and we need to continue like this. What is in store for us in the next year? At MAPFRE, we need to continue focusing on technical rigor. We must not make the mistakes of the past ever again. We must not depend on the financial guys. They don't bring the result anymore. It's a technical game. So that technical rigor has to continue, and it will come by verticals or lines. And it is true that the results are good. Last year they were good. This year they are even better. We need to analyze in detail where is this improvement coming from. The natural disasters have an impact. There's been several in the United States, the European storms also. And we also have the ordinary accident rate that's been very low. And this is obviously improving the results. What's going to happen next year? Well, the accident rate is very volatile in our sector. In 2019, we had a positive impact of COVID because activity came down and so accidents came down. 2021 is showing that we are recovering the previous levels of accident rate. Even though we have supply chain problems, activity is really recovering, and this is showing in terms of the accident rate. And what's going to happen next year? Well, it'll depend. Aviation is giving very good results with a clear explanation. Planes are not flying yet, but they will fly again, and the accident rate will go up, and results won't be so good. In other lines, it depends on the competitors. In these years where there's been a correction, many markets have stopped operating. In some lines, we even stopped operating in the European places where we were trying to develop the market because our value proposition was really not sustainable. Others have done it in Spain too. In the Spanish market, for us, luckily, our headquarters are here. We make the decisions here. We do not have to refer the business to other headquarters elsewhere. And I always say this, underwriting 2,000 kilometers away is much easier, far more technical. The broker's pressure is not there, the client's pressure is not there, and you're far more rigorous in technical terms. But underwriting, close up and personal, is not so easy. You cannot be so easily rigorous in a sense. So my expectations is that for some lines we'll have a bit more competition. As I was commenting with Mario when we were preparing the debate, we've been tending our own garden. There were many things we needed to correct, opening some lines, correcting accounts with bad results. And so with a better result this year, what we'll see next year is a bit more competition, which implies obviously that we might have to defend, protect our garden from third-party attacks. Nevertheless, we are seeing already that for some operations with discounts, MAPFRE does not want to be there for the time being. I don't think the market does provide the margin for these counts, not yet. And we have decided to let go of some operations, not in Spain, in some other latitudes in Latin America, because we do not want MAPFRE to be linked to discounts in the market right now. For 2 years, we've been improving the results. We've been in the positive after 2 terrible years, so we want to keep it up that way. So we're optimistic in the sense that there will be continue to have you'll continue to have rather this insurance support, but it has to be at a sustainable price. Carlos, tell us, give us your vision from London. Are we going to see competition coming from elsewhere? Well, I trust that that's what we try to do, but the market in London has seen significant changes and significant evolution in the past 2 years. It wasn't totally unexpected. The combined ratios that we've seen for the big insurers have been close to 100 or even above 100 in the red. So we could see it coming. We could say it was not sustainable, that something was going to happen. It wasn't if it was going to happen, but rather when is it going to happen. Having said that, we've noticed a couple of particular traits that have appeared and are a bit more surprising. One, the way the rate increases were applied with a one-size-fits-all approach. Overnight, the renewals started coming through with a +20, +25, and this year perhaps it's been a +15, +10. But this is what we've seen. We're not talking about the really bad ones, but the ones that have accidents that cannot show good risk management. Those have suffered. They've had a significant impact. Now, for the good ones and the normal ones, or the ones that are so-so, or slightly under the average, they seem to have been treated all the same. And many clients have been really annoyed by that. So what do they want? They want to see reductions because they feel they've paid too much. And so this brings us to the question, where's competition coming from? Obviously, insurers, excuse me, but you've been so comfortable having a leader who puts a plus 15, plus 20, plus 25. Why would you compete with that? Well, probably you are the leader always, but nevertheless, you get the gist of what I'm saying. Why compete with that? So this brings us to the question that we are discussing a lot lately, which is when are the good times going to be back and what is to be expected from the future good times? And truth be told, the good times I feel are going to come back quite soon. The increases we are seeing today have gone down to 5, 10, more or less. We're doing a couple of renewals now, and more than anything else, what we're seeing now is that having reached a point where things are profitable again, we can discriminate or differentiate more between the good ones and the bad ones. And so the very good ones, I feel, are going to feel the positive impact soon, because what's going to happen is that for those clients, and by the way, also thinking about how markets have not had to compete, because all the financial goals they could meet with mere renovations of the business they already had, because if everything's going up 20, 30%, they didn't need to get new business. Yet, when that comes down to 5 or less, they are going to have to compete. They can't, your bosses are not going to accept decreases at that level. So new business will be necessary. And so, yes, I think the good times will come back soon. And what's important is having good information to connect well with the market so that we can prepare for that. And to have a good broker, of course, having a good broker, a good technical broker that understands your industry perfectly. That is of the essence. Sorry about this, but you were saying there's been, hikes in an approach of one size fits all. But I don't think it's been the case. The increases have been significant. And it's not true that we've done the same with everybody. Actually, we've done more where there was no risk management. The increases have been there for everybody, but some have had real difficulties to actually find room for their programs. And some of our portfolios are not even assimilated 100% because the markets do not even believe it. When the market gets really hard, in hard market times, it's really important to manage risks and to have a good broker, I insist. You talk about a bad risk management, but it is true that when the market was softer, the managers for those risks perhaps could relax more in their functions than what they did. But that relaxation is over. Everybody has adapted their portfolios and their risk management to the new times to make a buck or two to be profitable. You do have profits now. You're back into making profits. And so now competition needs to ensue in a sense so that you start defending the garden rather than just tending to it. I also wanted to say, and this is very fashionable lately, I've been talking about this at Firma recently. I wanted to talk about your vision on sustainability, on client sustainability. concerning certain energies and the energy transition. How are you tackling this one at MAPFRE? There's been some insurers that have already decided not to insure certain energies with the 2030, 2050 goals in mind, the net zero and the decarbonization of industry goals in mind. And risk managers are concerned and worried about all this because we continue to be in a hard market. Perhaps we need to initiate a competition. Newcomers are going to compete for our risks, and we're going to find a new hurdle, a new problem, which is a bit populist, I feel. Namely, not so much going with risk managers and companies in their transition, but rather sending the message to the market, I'm not going to insure ever again coal mines. Well, perhaps at a given point in time, if there's a gas crisis, we need to have coal if we don't want a complete blackout. So what I'm saying is that it's a bit populist the way things are happening, it would appear, or the way certain people are selling this transition. What's your take on this, José Antonio at MAPFRE? Concerning sustainability, MAPFRE is very demanding internally to begin with, and we are in several sustainability indexes. We rank in several of those quite top up in the Dow Jones one, the Financial Times, stock exchanges for good, and so on. And we've always been heavily and intensely committed to all this, to social aspects, and of course, environmental aspects. MAPFRE España, MAPFRE Iberia is carbon neutral since 2021. And we invest heavily in all this with our premises, with solar panels, and like everybody else, I suppose. But we do a lot about this, and we've also included the ESG criteria in part of our requirements. We need to do this also. And we have public commitments we need to abide by. We're not going to insure new coal mines. We're not going to insure new coal thermal plants. We're not going to, or at least try to avoid certain oil extractions, the oil in the Arctic, because we are committed to the planet and we're committed to not polluting. Our clients are. In Spain, our clients have decarbonization plans, transition plans for energy transition towards green energies, and so on. And so we'll be with them. We'll not underwrite insurance with new coal plants, but I don't think there will be new plants being built in Spain. And Latin America is the same thing, you know. And so in that sense, the commitment is easy, because everybody's committed to that. All clients are committed to that. If some broker brings coal plants as a business, well, obviously we will not be able to go for that business. Carlos, what's your take on it? In our sector, energy and electricity generation, power and utilities, basically. This is very serious because we're talking about protecting the world. And they are the ones who have created the problem, basically, to a great extent, or allegedly. There is a heavy focus on all this, obviously, for obvious reasons, as I was saying. Now, having said this, the great concern is striking a balance, I think, between the pressure from investors and clients and activists. And of course, insurance companies need to take all these into account, and they do it, or they are starting to do it. But on the other hand, there's also the problem of you being the ones paying when there's an accident ensuing from a changing climate situation. So this is very important for us right now. We've been doing two things based on all that. number one, understand the impact on our clients of climate and weather changes when it comes to their risks, so that we can explain it to insurers, because this is going to be key. Further to that, we also need to start, and we have started working with our clients to be able to protect their capacity and to make them more attractive to other insurance companies that are also going to focus heavily on sustainability. So we have bought CDP, a company, expert, renowned worldwide on climate-related risks and how to maintain and protect along those lines. And they have just recently launched a certification which is independent to Willis, where they visit a company and see what is in the strategy to make the transition from carbon to low carbon and no carbon. And they do that in combination with the Paris Agreement goals to ensure everything's aligned, and everything's aligned in chronological terms, which is important also. There will be other people who are doing this, of course, but I just wanted to mention it because this is something that for us and our clients is very important. In order to reach a point where you are indeed going to be able to say, we've done our homework, we've met our obligations, you will have to prove it. And as you said, many clients say they are doing it, and I acknowledge it, because you look at the annual reports and everybody says they are doing an awful lot. But truth be told, when I show it to the people from this company who are the experts, they tell me they are not aligned with the Paris Agreement. And there weren't that many that were aligned with Paris among the companies that say they're working towards the Agenda 2030 and the 2050 goals. They couldn't prove that they were doing what they needed to do. And this is a problem. Right now in the market, as we can see, and I'm not wanted to be particularly critical, but it's the truth of the situation. Right now in the market, what we see is we're still seeing the reactions to what we see around in the world. But there will come a time in the market when we see what's happening at the COP26 and the pressure ensuing from all that. We'll see there will come a time when all this will be more important for you. And at that point in time, your bosses, their top managers will have made their decisions, their strategic decisions for the companies for the coming 10, 20 years. And it'll be too late, because decisions perhaps will go along the lines of investing in certain technologies, in hydrogen, in the blue one, not the green one, and gas instead of hydrogen. So it is very important to understand all this, because when changes come, it'll be too late to start connecting with consulting groups such as ours. So, Carlos, in a nutshell, you're going to analyze clients as brokers with this new company, and those who pass that exam, as it were, are going to guarantee in the market somewhat. Well, yeah, we've designed something for the carbon generation market and the mining markets, because they are the ones that are experiencing the pressure the most right now and the lack of capacity. And so for them, it's been a huge problem. In 3 years, we have the capacity to double franchises and triple the premium. So it is a huge problem. And I hope this is not what's in store for us all. But honestly, right now, this is impacting heavily the coal sector. But this will spread elsewhere. After coal, they'll go for gas, and from one thing they go to another. And all those who pollute will have that problem. at some level. So, yeah. Okay, on this topic, I wanted to send out several messages. It would appear that when we talk about decarbonization and green transition, there is a lot of hypocrisy. There are lobbyists that put pressure on insurance companies as if insurance companies were responsible for deciding who's good and who's bad. And they never stop unless you make them stop. Now apparently we can't insure anything related to oil extraction, then diesel cars, and well, how about the heating in my house or my car? These are all diesel fed. So what am I going to do? It's very hypocritical. And so we need to play our role and be responsible for what we are responsible. Of course, it is everybody's responsibility to keep a healthy planet, but insurance companies are not the judges of who's good and who's bad. And then there's another problem with energy transition. We've seen this in the market, in the electricity generation market. A lot of technological innovation funded by insurance companies, the cogeneration. Remember the losses, the combined cycles, the offshore wind farms, all that. And insurance companies should not be funding all this. It is good to give capabilities for the companies that are in the thick of their green transition, but with technical rigor. This needs to be profitable. We are not here to provide subsidies for technological changes performed by others. And of course, MAPFRE will always be there for EXCOM. Even if you move kerosene, because we fly I'm representing somebody who moves coal around, not only Exxon, but I have a very good example from Exxon, which is the case of kerosene. We are beginning to introduce sustainable kerosene, but it is so expensive, and so people do not want to pay for it. So what do? We introduce it in 10% of the cases. So to what extent will we be able to introduce more sustainable or green kerosene? Well, in as much as there is more demand, and that demand will generate a decrease in or lead to a decrease in the green kerosene price, and for that we need investments, we need funding, not only from the insurance companies, but also from the banking sector, which is why at AGERS we believe it is key to draw a line and for you all to come along with us along that path, brokers and insurance companies. It is true also that people often focus on insurance companies. And how about brokers? What are brokers going to do to come along in this transition? Can you hear me okay? Yeah, it works now. I think it's interesting what Carlos was saying, because we need to prepare a number of filters. The outlook you were sharing is very much related to a pure coal industry, but of course most power companies have a mix. They don't do coal exclusively, but we just need to go with them, accompany them so that they can invest in other alternative energy sources.
These things can be cleaned. We have first-in-class engineering teams very close to brokers and to the markets, and we have extensive experience. Because of the time that we have spent with our clients and see the options that they have ahead of them. But in terms of the market and if we understand at a very granular level how they are managing these emissions and what are they planning to do, this can be extremely helpful with the market. Just pure coal, that it's not such a terrible thing. We're going to start investing in sequestration and storage of CO2 underwater in the United Kingdom. Perhaps in a year there will be technology that allows us to continue burning coal with no emissions to the atmosphere. Although I think this is far more difficult. You were talking about Latin America before. There's a few countries in the Caribbean, like the Dominican Republic, that are very much dependent from coal for electric generation. So if we don't ensure this, what is going to happen with that country? So we're dooming them for the underdevelopment. We can't be so drastic with the green transition. We also have other examples for the development of the infrastructures linked to oil and gas in the developing countries, with the aim to develop such infrastructures where sustainability doesn't have to just be the CO2 revolution. There's much more to it. But we kindly ask you to bear these 360 degrees perspective, who's sustainable and who's not. But by way of a conclusion, vis-a-vis the market trends, you both see that the premium is going to start declining soon, right? Yeah, right around the corner. This is a matter of time. No, perhaps not by December, but yeah, soon enough. Those who are going to renew it in July or June. Yeah, you will benefit from this massive premium decline. Now, in terms of sustainability, the broker is going to help us filter such information to the market, to insurance market. Being able to do this with the market so they all request the same. And in case of MAPFRE, they are going to all support their clients with that transition. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed.